Hello there, Pursuing Freedom friends, and thanks as always for being with us today. I'm really, really excited to introduce you guys to Chavi Hohm and Kim Colaprete out of Seattle, Washington. These gals are a crazy, awesome power couple that are the owners and founders of Team Diva Real Estate, which is this incredible brand. You guys need to follow them on Instagram. And I just am going to let them share their story because they've already inspired me beyond belief before we started recording here. So I don't want to waste any more time. So, Kim, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself first, and then we'll have Chavi introduce herself. And you guys just give us a little bit about the backstory, about the how, when, and why, and then we'll roll from there.
Sure. So I'm Kim Colaprete. I am the, as we call myself, the OG diva. So I was the original diva when I started real estate in 1999. I branded myself as Seattle's real estate diva. So I started the brand specifically because I came from a nonprofit background and a very non-corporate, kind of political, little bit of a radical background. And I was like, oh, I'm getting into this career that's a little bit more staid and, corporate, but I wanted to really stand out and be like, I am going to be very different than your average real estate agent. So I picked this diva name and I try to, embrace it as much as possible. And I was a single lone realtor with, I think I had an assistant for a couple of years, but I was pretty much a lone realtor till 2008. And then at that point, Chavi was working at Starbucks, and she decided to quit her job
on a whim,
like
before we went to Italy,
4 months before the market crashed and burned, and joined me in real estate.
I know. It's kind of funny. Like, I just realized that the person who's like our dearest friend, one of our closest friends, is retiring at age 50 from Starbucks this week. And
right.
She was like one of the people. I was like, oh, wow. So fascinating.
She was one of your first friends at Starbucks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Man, so perfect timing jumping in
exactly.
in 08 like a genius. I was right before 08 too. And I felt like, wow, that was smart.
Yeah, right. It was not planned that way, but Chavi and I love to talk about how because of the nature of what was happening in the market at that time, that level of tension really created this ability for us to form something totally different.
Exactly.
We had to break down what I was doing and kind of start from scratch again.
Exactly. We call it in kind of our team philosophy, we call it dynamic tension, right? So when you're building muscle or when you're working out, you only build that muscle when you have tension. And I think a lot of people are conflict adverse, for instance, but sometimes there's just nuggets of gold when you have
little chaos in your life.
And for the two of us, originally when I started, I was going to be Kim's assistant, and then immediately destroyed every I hadn't been an assistant, and I had no idea. I was like, I don't even know what this is. You guys use fax machines.
She was like, what's a fax machine? I'm like, yeah, it was still 2008 and people were faxing things, right?
Yeah. So I mean, so in some respects, there was a lot of there was a lot of just my own project management background coming into this. It was we need structure, we need this dynamic presence, and I think Kim's innate creativity and intuition around market, combined with my ability to what do we always call it? You're the Barbie, I'm the pet person who creates the package. But I mean but that's in regards to our houses, how we present our houses, how we present. We just did a magazine, and even the touch, feel, look of that magazine is just it's intended. All of it's intended to be this much more elevated look and presence. And I don't think you get there by going down a traditional real estate path.
Yeah,
sure. Okay, so let me back up a little bit here. When you talked about how you got into real estate in 1999, and you right away you started branding yourself as the
immediately,
diva, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I knew before so one of my fears of going from nonprofit, non-corporate life into real estate was people would make me try and fit into a box. And I knew I would never fit in that box. I mean, I'm a lesbian with a woman. I was a political activist. Chavi and I are pretty radical in our philosophy compared to your average real estate agent. And I knew that trying to fit in a box and be the real estate agent for everyone and dress a certain way and have this certain traditional approach to real estate was probably just not going to be my road to success.
Yeah.
So I immediately tried to do everything possible to stand out from the crowd. And that's when I started calling myself a real estate diva and just trying to approach real estate from a very different perspective. And of course, that kind of transition when Chavi and I came together, it kind of like exploded, because when you have two people in that same mindset, and also I was well seasoned as a realtor by then. So I had like I was already a solid top producing agent on my own. So we had that good footing, but now we had that foundation to build like an even more dynamic brand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love everything you just said, because I say this all the time, but one of the coolest byproducts of having this podcast is uncovering the diversity that resides in this industry. There's so many amazing individuals with unique backgrounds and personalities and skill sets and everything else. But at the end of the day, the ones who embrace their authenticity as fast as possible have the most the quickest and also like most fun journey to success, where it's in flow because you're doing you and you're not trying to be everybody else.
Right. No.
And who wants to serve everybody?
No.
I mean, yeah. So I love that you just hit that right on the head right out of the gates. So let me ask you something. Because Chavi, when you joined in 2008, now the brand was established. Obviously, you already had a successful business. Talk to us a little bit about the transition or migration, I should say, through the branding journey from 1999 to today, and the tools that we have available today.
Oh, yeah.
So unique to the tools that were available.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. So like one of the things that's like really kind of core to our brand is like community involvement. And in 2008, I mean, like I think everyone, like people just basically stopped talking about real estate. I mean, like they just weren't doing it at all.
Oh, yeah.
And Kim and I had a quick trip to Portland, and like where we were there, like we were in this really cool shop, and I was like, oh, this is so interesting. And they like had a little email sign up list. I was like, all right, I'll figure out this is. And they sent this email, and really what the in that particular like marketing email, what they were trying to do was like connect nonprofits with businesses, with consumers, to basically get people, because really the nonprofit world had also like there was a huge, I mean, like a lot of people lost foundations lost like full funding basically.
Right.
So it was really inspiring, I think, for Kim and I when we received it. Like one, like just the structure of that email, but also like the communication around the fact that you can build a business and support and elevate other people, right? So in this world, like if you elevate another business, or if you elevate a nonprofit, or you elevate an artist that you're really into, or you do these type of those elements, and you do it in a really beautiful, stylized way and get more people interested, they're going to be eventually interested in you and from a real estate perspective, because someone's only going to, especially I think millennials, they're only going to make those transitions maybe 2 or 3 times in 20 years. And if that. So how do you become the person that they know, love, and trust, like when they're not talking about real estate? So that is really what colors a lot of like our marketing, even to this day. So
and I think one of the things that like Chavi touched on is that the community involvement piece. Like I was always political as my own little rules, but I never really focused on it. But the recession really focused Chavi and I on, okay, if people don't want to talk about real estate, let's stop talking about real estate and just bring people together in the best way we can. So that's when we started throwing like parties and like pride events and doing weird like fashion shows. I think our first Team Diva event was a underwear fashion show at our friend's store. And she had her own store and she was struggling to get business. So,
and then we made a
fundraiser for an arts organization. So we're like, okay, we're going to like pull our resources together and have this really fun event that focuses on putting all of us out there, but not expecting anything from anyone.
Exactly.
And it was really just a way to like bring people together and start building our little diva. We call it like our little diva land community.
Exactly. And so, at the time I was like, well, how do I reach people and not spend a lot of money?
Yeah.
Like, how do I do that? And so I was like, well, Facebook, like I am super active on Facebook and I'm just going to do that. And I'm active on Twitter. And I'm going to do that. This is before Instagram really like kind of
way
hit
before
off.
Instagram. Yeah.
And so I just, kept on like inviting people. We kept on inviting people to events, and then we would get like a client, and or then we also hosted during the recession, like because there were so many like gross houses we did like around Halloween. We
did like scary house
tour
tours
and like had a caravan of people who just went and looked at like these like foreclosures like under the guise of Halloween.
Right. Yeah.
And so people were just like, oh, they're the people. And at the same time, you still have to we still have to do a really good ethical business. And then within that community of people who are supporting us in the beginning, our friend Rosmi was like, you need to get on Yelp. I'm a super Yelper. Like Yelp, I was like,
no one was on Yelp back then. And our friend was like, I'm on Yelp and I go and I give reviews all the time. Why are you guys not on there? I'm like, I thought only restaurants were on Yelp.
Yeah.
So we got on Yelp in like 2009.
And it just
before anyone was talking about Yelp.
And Yelp really opened us up to outside of our own immediate sphere. It really opened us up to I would call it sphere adjacent. Like, so people who are going to know and like us anyways because we have a cool vibe, and then they're finding our Yelp reviews, and it's like it's almost like the best friend referral for those who don't have a friend quite yet in Seattle, or just like trust the internets. And so that it really, that in particular really helped to like grow our brand. And then from there, Katie Lance asked us to be on Agent Reboot in 2012
at Inman,
and then we were speakers at Inman that same year in the summer, and that is really where we met like Ann Jones, Marguerite, Stacy, Greg, like all these people that have had like incredible influence about like how our our search optimization and how we do blogging and how we
just interacting with those people. We were getting huge amounts of information about how to transition our business and build our business and refine our business. So between the community, local community that we had built, and then we were building this national community of realtors that we were connecting with and tech folks in real estate, it kind of helped us really hone down and refine our brand and really focus on the things that were important to us.
Yeah. And so like, I would say like the way that ARC, the thing that came to mind to me, like the way that ARC kind of shows up now, this last Pride season, just with the political climate. So we have a lot of drag queens who are clients, and we have this really amazing couple, and they're both drag queens, and they have four foster kids. No, they're adopted now, but these neo-Nazis here in Washington State like came after them for Drag Queen Story Hour, and in a really violent, really horrible, heartbreaking way. And so Kim and I and our team organized. We were like, well, Cookie Couture is doing this thing. We're going to go and like, we're just going to show our support. Like, we have a flexible job. A lot of people can't take Mondays off. So we went. And so like that local community of support that we've been building over the years, like basically we were like, I don't think people understand what a threat is happening. Like an actual, like, it's great to intellectualize threats, but when someone's literally going after your clients because they want to read books to a kid, like, and be dressed in drag, like, and the library system is inviting them to do that, and the parents are choosing to take their kids to that environment, like, it's un-American to like basically say, like, I mean, at a certain point there's a choice in that matter. So we like really so in that process, like, we were able to organize, I think, close to 400 people, like, and not just us, but us. And
it was a whole group. We created a whole Facebook group around this issue,
like, just protecting
because it impacted a lot of events that were happening during Pride
season.
So we created a Facebook group and really were able to like harness that community that we had created to get behind these our drag queen friend,
because it's like her. I mean, I think what we were talking about before the podcast started was like there's being success for success, but what is your actual impact? Like, what are you really doing for your community?
Yeah.
Like, how are you really showing up? Like, what are you, like, it's one thing to help someone to get into a home, but are you just churning and burning your business? Are you really like their heart and soul with those people who are buying those homes? Like, are you
and
really,
you're there for them when something happens like this that doesn't involve real estate whatsoever?
And
right?
it was definitely a risk for us too, because this particular group had like, they were like setting up all these like negative reviews, and Yelp had been such a strong part of our business for so long, Yelp and Google business reviews. And so we basically were like, you know what, like, we know these people have this capacity to come after us as well. And it's just like, at a certain point, we're just gonna have to trust that our community is gonna support us. Like, and we're gonna stand up for them. Like, because like they've been there. I mean, like, they were there during the recession buying houses from us. Like, they've been there for us. And I don't think and if you talk to people now, like, a lot of agents won't make political risks because of that fear. But are they really serving the community that trusts them?
Yeah. Well, you guys just covered everything that Pursuing Freedom is all about. So I appreciate it, because I just like preach it, because number one, you're talking about, you know what matters to you, you know what you care about, you have your priorities and you honor them. You create energy by providing value to the community that you want to serve. And then you provide value above and beyond what you get paid to do, which is basically the go-giver on steroids.
Right.
You know, you're right, because people don't need real estate except for every couple of years, maybe 3 to 5 years, if that. And so you can't just show up in their lives when they need a deal done. You need to show up in their lives all the time. And then the deals come as the byproduct of doing the right thing all the time for the people you truly, genuinely care about. And not because you're awesome at sales, you're just awesome at serving the community that inspires you. And that's it in a nutshell. Like, it's no wonder that you've had such incredible success, because there's too many people in our industry that need to hear this message and realize that it is enough to just identify the kind of market demographic group of people that you want to serve, and then figure out what their issues are and be that resource, and have fun doing it. I mean, you're doing all the things. So I love it. Talk to me a little bit about it, because you've got Team Diva Real Estate. So Chavi joined Kim in 2008. And then at that point, was this the beginning of a snowball of you guys building a team? Or
no, I think it was just really Chavi and I for a couple of years. And then we kind of
in 2000, this is our 10th anniversary.
Yeah, so we started in 2008, but the team didn't really manifest itself as Team Diva until 2010. And we are, other than just being political, we're also a little woo-woo. Chavi is really into astrology, and we have a friend who's an astrologer. So we asked her to do a chart for us to figure out what the best time would be for us to actually create Team Diva. So she picked a couple of dates for us, and she said, here's the date you should create Team Diva. And that means register as a business. And then we have like a chart, a Diva astrology chart for the team that we use every year.
You're showing off all of our secrets, Kim.
It's fine.
I mean, not that those
your
are
average person is not going to be like, I'm going to go get myself an astrologer.
There's a lot of structure that happens behind the scenes.
There is a lot of structure. So we manifested this team in 2010 officially, and then we started.
Kaz started.
We hired our first gal to work with, Kaz, and she lasted a couple of years, and then
Chris joined us in 2011.
And then we got an intern who we called the him turn.
He turned into like a long-term.
He turned into a long-term assistant
writer
while he was in college. He would help us. He was an integral part of the team for a very long time. And then we hired Rocky in 2013 as our first as a team member, and Rocky is still with us, so he's our longest standing team member.
I think technically Roy started before that, but he wasn't licensed.
Right? Yeah. Then Roy started helping, but Rocky was our first licensed team member, and then Roy, and then Michael became our assistant. Although assistant is a really bad word. He's like the Diva wrangler. He's like our everything.
He says the manager of chaos.
He's the manager of chaos, right?
Yeah, and he's like the eye of the hurricane.
He's like the eye of the hurricane. That's his favorite thing to say. And we hired him in 2014. 14 or 15?
15. I just had to give it. Oh, someone got flowers.
Someone got flowers. Oh,
Okay.
my birthday, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot to say it on the show. It's Kim's birthday. How about that? She's joining us on her birthday. Happy
Yay.
birthday.
Yeah. So,
So,
and then our last hire was Remington. So we have 3 full-time team members, Chavi and I, and Michael.
And then we have like on the back end, we have someone who helps me with like who
blog
does
writing. We have a
blog writing and a graphic designer. And then we also like our bookkeeper is Alex is technically our first team.
Oh, I guess
she's
Alex,
been
yes,
with us
that's true.
since the beginning.
Alex is a client of ours who became a bookkeeper, and then we hired her, and we're
she's
like,
also dear HR when things
she's
get
also dear HR, right?
and so the best part to me about the fact that you've built this team, aside from the fact that we talked about it earlier, it sounds like you attracted a band of unicorns, and your little family, which I love. But it also permits you the freedom to travel, right?
Yes.
And so
that was the number one reason we started the team is because Chavi and I love to travel, and it was feeling really.
Was it 2009? I think it was in 2009 we took a trip and like we did really great, and then we took the trip to Europe and we came back and like we had to restart, and I was like, there's got to be an easier way to keep business and then you're like having 20 of your friends from the office cover
you're
business.
Piecemealing your business to people who aren't. I mean, not to say that they didn't do a good job, but that's different. They weren't invested in
the client,
in the team, right? They were doing their own business and like backing us up. And I'm like, this is not working for me. I want people that I can transfer my business to when I'm gone, who are invested in this team success, right?
And then the way that
who are committed to the business that we've created.
Yeah. And the way that looks like, it's not, I mean, because I think a lot of traditional teams have that like top-down structure, like there's like the rainmaker and then then there's like the like the buyer's agents and there's the etc. But like the way it works for us, and it's really, really hard to replicate it. Like we've talked about teams at a million different conferences and everyone's like, you're not doing it right. I'm like, it works for us. Like you do,
it's like you said, it's a unicorn, it's a band of unicorns, and it works for us.
But I mean, the way that translates is like for the client, there's always 2 people that are on that transaction. So if someone gets sick or someone has a life emergency or someone goes on vacation, the client has like a seamless process through it. And then what that provides to our team members is that they can kind of like, they can have some time off. I mean, they can have a bigger life. I mean, a lot of our team members take, I think almost all of them, unless it's like our super busy season, take Sundays off.
Awesome.
Which is a really, I mean, that just doesn't happen at all.
Yeah.
The only rough time is Pride because our only straight team member is Roy. So he kind of gets stuck being like,
or you and I always get stuck.
Sometimes you and I, right? But
I'm always like,
all the boys are always gone at Pride.
Yeah, totally. And then,
and Michael also
is a famous
drag queen. So Michael also is Donatella.
Love it.
So we have a built-in brand ambassador for the team, Donatella. So we're a pretty weird band of realtors.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, it's so good. I mean, the takeaways here to me is you again, it comes back to knowing what your priorities are. You didn't compromise your passion for travel. You didn't allow the success of your business to be the excuse to stop living your life. You never tried to be someone other than who you are, and you have achieved great success. And now you get to impart all of your wisdom and experience onto these agents who are so lucky to be a part of your family, your real estate family. And so, yeah, I mean, I just commend you. And I think that there's a ton of takeaways here for the listeners to do the same. It's not, don't be like Kim and Chavi, be you, and that's enough. And don't compromise the joy of life in pursuit of the success of your business. It's not one or the other. It's both and.
And it is. I mean, that like the thing is like Kim and I probably put like more concentrated effort into our daily work life than most average agents. Like I don't want to say like, oh, we create this structure and we have all this freedom. There's a lot of intention. There's a lot of planning, and there's a lot of force of will that goes on beyond just that. And I think that's like I teach new agents all the time. And when I just kind of goes like, you have this spreadsheet and you do this thing and you're blah, blah, blah. And like, you have to have a plan, and like, they get really overwhelmed. And I'm like, but we really are doing this between the hours of 9 and 3. And then another couple hours, like after Quinlan goes to bed. Like, like how do you, and you just have to structure your world around that. And I think that's really difficult for people to kind of like.
It's also a constant evolving process.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people want a business that's set it and forget it. And I just don't think that's, like, it's like, I think being nimble and willing to be like, oh, we've been doing that and that worked for like a while, but guess what? That doesn't work anymore. Stop doing it and not be afraid to move to something else. And I think people really get stuck on this. I have to do it this way because that's the way that's always worked.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard transition for people. I mean, I think for us, we just, because we were born in chaos, we kind of, chaos gives us stability, right?
Yeah, I get that completely.
Yeah.
No, I love it. Well, we are running out of time here, and I don't want to keep you girls too long because, hey, you got some birthday celebrating.
I do have some birthday, and I have a listing walkthrough. So, work, fun, combined.
Yeah. Well, if you wouldn't mind, can you let the listeners know where they can find you, follow you, contact you, whatever?
Yeah, sure. So our website is teamdivarealestate.com. Our Twitter handle is Seattle Divas.
Which is basically just Kim tweeting.
It's just me tweeting my political perspective, right. And Chavi and I are both on, so our Instagram is Team Diva RE. And
our YouTube is Team Diva RE. And those are like probably and obviously like it's pretty easy to find us on Facebook too. But like those, if you want like more juicy behind the scenes stuff, I would go to Instagram. Because we try to have a lot of fun just like in our stories on Instagram.
Yeah. And then Chavi is Chavi H on Instagram, and I'm Seattle Diva on Instagram.
Yeah. Awesome.
If you want to, follow us as well as the
see how I sneak vegetables into the teens' food, which is basically my Instagram stories.
I love it. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate you taking the time.
Awesome.
No problem.
All right,
thanks, Gal.
All right. And listen, Pursuing Freedom friends, be sure to follow these gals because what they're doing is authentically them, but it's inspiring for all of us to live our best lives, be ourselves, have more fun in the process, and attract the success we're seeking. And I wish you all continued success on your journey. And I love and appreciate you for tuning in. Make it a great day.